Stress is a natural human response. Little bits of stress are actually good for us. However, we need to be concerned when stress becomes chronic and/or a person gets exposed to extreme amounts of stress, because these types of stress can lead to a person developing mental ill health. Whilst there is no medical definition for stress, it can be defined as the degree to which you feel overwhelmed or unable to cope as a result of pressures or demands that are placed on you. One thing to consider when talking about stress is that what is defined as stressful will vary from person to person. For example, two people at work may be asked to give a presentation. One person may define this as being stressful, whereas another may not. It's important to recognise that stress affects everyone in different ways, and we all have different levels of vulnerability to it. The ways in which stress affects us individually will be shown by our stress signature. For example, when a person feels stressed, they may find themselves very tearful. For others, they may find themselves very short-tempered, and for others, they might find that they become withdrawn. The way in which stress can come into our lives is also varied. For example, it could come from relationships, work, health, or our environment. Whichever way stress comes into our lives, what we do know is that stress which is not managed can impact both our mental and physical health. Therefore, it's really important to recognise when we do feel stressed and to engage with helpful coping strategies. Certain helpful coping strategies might be to talk about the problem that we have, maybe to delegate tasks to others. It may be to ensure that we get sufficient exercise, or it could be ensuring that we get the right nutrition, all of which can help in terms of our own management of stress, but also in reducing the impacts that it may have. The key is to find the coping strategy that works for you. When looking at stress and how it may actually impact us, we can look at this from a number of perspectives. Stress can impact us in a physical, cognitive, emotional, and behavioural sense. With regards to the physical impacts of stress, some things that we might experience are nausea, dizziness and headaches, muscular aches and pains, chest pains, and exhaustion. Cognitive impacts that might be seen can include worrying a lot more, struggling with our memory, we might have difficulty in concentrating, and we also might have difficulty making decisions. In addition to that, the emotional impacts that we might see from stress include a change in our moods. We might find ourselves more irritable, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Lastly, with regards to the behavioural impacts of stress, what we might see is that we eat more or less. We might start drinking or using drugs, changing our sleeping habits, or even avoid others and our responsibilities. Again, it's important to recognise that the way in which stress impacts a person will be individual. For some people, they may demonstrate symptoms of all four of those categories, but for others it may simply be one. What's important is that when you do feel stressed, that you acknowledge it and take corrective action, i.e. engaging in helpful coping strategies, in order to manage that stress and to minimise the impact on both your mental and physical well-being.